Hey there! In today's video, I'm going to talk about the top 5 tips that really helped me my first year of DJing. And if you stick around till the end of the video, I'll show you how you can find out my 10 tips that helped me my first year of DJing that I truly believe will help you get consistent paying gigs your first year. I'll also include 3 tips that didn't work out so well for me. I'm DJ Nicole Otero, professional DJ from NYC, and on this channel, I post a new video every week with DJ tutorials and tips, tricks, and inspiration to help aspiring and beginner DJs get started on their DJ journey. As always, if you like the videos, click subscribe. So let's get started. Tip number 1. I didn't wait too long to DJ my first live gig. I started DJing 2 months after I bought my first turntables. So that's really quick, I think. But I practiced a lot in those 2 months before I went out. Although I was super nervous, I didn't let it stop me from, doing my first bar gig. I had a friend who was bartending, and she casually just said when we were there one day at an East Village bar in New York City, she was like, "Hey, my friend DJs. Do you have any, spots open here?" So he invited me to DJ a house music night that a couple of his friends were DJing at, just to do a little guest spot. And that's what I did. I practiced my butt off, and it was Vinyl Records at that point. It was a really small bar, and I'll never forget it. I was literally shaking, but the one mix that I knew that I practiced so well, I actually got complimented on. And it was like no feeling like I've ever had to actually DJ for people out and that were live, not just for the furniture in my bedroom. So that really helped me because it was only 2 months after I started, and then I was just DJing out all the time. Because I did well, and then the bartender offered me a Tuesday night weekly gig there. Tip number 2. I was DJing a very niche style of music. And I think that this is really key. I knew that, deep house was my thing. I had already been clubbing for 9 years. And I did mention this in one of my 3 tips in a previous video, and why I think this tip in particular really helped me get an international DJ gig after only 1 year of DJing. But picking one style of music is a great way to get started. This way you get really good at mixing that genre of music, and people also get to know you as a DJ that is in that particular niche. So you could become part of a scene. And and it also really helps you get technically good at that one style, playing that one style of music, and people will get to know you quicker that way. So I really highly recommend picking a niche. That said, your niche could be open format. Like that is a niche, right? But even open format that you do play different styles of music, there's like a certain rhythm to it. When you learn that, like there's a certain way of going about it, and it's still a certain way of thinking about mixing that's different from if you decide to do EDM or, dub or house or whatever, electronic or disco, whatever it is. It's a different way of going about mixing. So definitely decide what your niche is going to be. Tip number 3. I started a college radio station at NYU. When I started my radio show, it was before live streaming. So radio was really the only option. This show was a great way to get me DJing every week, and also for me to meet other DJs, since I would ask them to guest spot on my show. DJing, like any other business, is about relationships, and having a weekly spot gets you in the mix with other fellow DJs. I also got to watch their mixing styles and techniques, and I learned from them because I was still a beginner. Not to mention, you might also get booked overseas from it. I happened to get booked in France because of my radio show, because I met someone who was a DJ out there and he really liked how I played. So I can't say enough about starting a radio show if you can. And if you can't actually get to like an actual radio show, then you start a podcast that's your weekly radio show. Or you start a live streaming, whether it's on IG or even YouTube, Mixcloud, and Twitch is obviously now the biggest live streaming platform for DJs. So I definitely highly recommend you start a weekly show of sorts. Tip number 4. I went to lots of parties where other DJs played my style of music. So yeah, they were all into deep house. And, it was a very niche scene. There were parties only happening in certain locations, certain clubs, and you did get to see a lot of the same people every week. But what it did was you're, again, building relationships, you're networking, and you're supporting other DJs. So it's just an awesome way to get out there and for people to start to get to know you. And you never know, you might get a DJ gig that way because they're like, oh, I know so-and-so is really into this style of music, and maybe you'll fill in for them. That happened to me plenty of times where somebody would be like, I can't show up for this gig. Can you fill in for me? It's a great way to start collaborating with other DJs in your niche. And again, people will get to know you as someone in their scene, which makes you feel like you're part of a movement together. Tip number 5, I got a record label job in my niche of music. Now, this is a lot easier said than done. I totally get that. But I truly believe this happened for me because of the previous tip. Since I was always out and about networking with other DJs and people in my scene, when the opportunity arose at a small record label, I was the first one to get the call. So you just never know what opportunities may come your way from being consistent with your networking efforts. And I just have to say, working at that record label, I started part-time and I really did my best and I showed up and I ended up becoming a full-time record label manager. And it was a really, hot label at the time. We were putting out really solid, good, soulful, deep house music. And people really wanted music from us. And it was still during the vinyl days. So it wasn't that easy to get a hold of. And it just made my whole profile as a DJ, it brought it up a whole other notch because now I was dealing with, music from a specific label that people were really interested in. So, again, you just keep going out there, you keep networking and try to get a job, even if it's not a record label, maybe it's now, a streaming platform or maybe it's a media company that's centered around a certain style of music. But getting in the business side of things and not just the club side of things can really, catapult your DJing to the next level. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed today's video. As promised, if you want to find out my top 10 tips to help you your first year of DJing, just click the link below this video. It's my newest blog post where I post my 10 tips and an additional 3 tips that didn't work out so well for me. I'm DJ Nicole Otero, professional DJ from NYC, and every week I post a new video here with tips, tutorials, inspiration to help beginner DJs and aspiring DJs just like you get started on their DJ career. If you like these videos, remember to click subscribe. Well, I'll see you next week, DJ. Bye.